Okay, welcome to Super Happy Dragon Lucky episode 10. That's hexadecimal 10, by the way, if you haven't figured that out by now. Today, mostly, it's all about an AMA. I think we have in the upper 20s or lower 30s of questions to answer. These are all supposed to be a single question per comment in the thread that was on Reddit. And actually, we had a lot of really good questions. So, there were some of them that some people already answered well inside of that, and I will probably answer with that answer as well. So, starting with Drgonjohn, we have now the big companies are starting to look at blockchain as something essential for the future. But many are choosing projects that, although their technology is inferior, they have more popularity. How do we fight to bring adoption to Dragonchain? Mostly, it's all about, on our part, getting the capabilities in place, getting everything operational, and actually starting to do the outreach, starting to do the demos so that people can see what's possible, how easy it is to use, and how scalable it is. So we're hitting it from angles to show, to provide more transparency in the metrics, because even though it's a hybrid chain, so it's sometimes a little bit hard to show everything that's going on. So we're putting that in place right now. We're putting together some interesting angles on load and scaling tests so that people can see how far you can go with the platform itself. But on the adoption side, a lot of it is kind of cooked into the economy that everyone out there that holds dragons is at least incentivized somehow to either build something, find something to be built, or find somebody that might build on the platform yourself. So that's a key component. And the community is really strong, really amazing community, we all deal together with trolls and other drama, but we really appreciate everything you guys do. So that's probably the biggest piece of it, and we're going to be providing more and more outreach, especially over the last part of this year and into next year, where we're going to do a lot of developer outreach and building out a lot of different applications and demos, open source projects, things like that will all be on top of Dragonchain. So anywhere we can, if you guys have ideas, let us know. Next question, Jim Rocco 22. Hey Joe, with the news of China wanting to integrate blockchain with their economy, in what areas could Dragonchain help the US economy? So on that, I mean, it's really interesting. To start, China probably did this as it's a very smart thing to do, but a lot of it's coming upon, bad numbers economically in China, other things with the trade war, different things that the countries use to that leverage against each other. And we're at somewhat of a disadvantage because we have unclear regulatory structure. We have VCs and banks that frankly want to kill the industry in the US and somewhat in the Western world. And we're probably a lot stronger economically, so there's not as much of a need to really push for these more advanced or powerful features that we can provide. So, how could we help? I mean, transparency in government would be amazing. That should be done. Proof that things happened, which could be applied nearly anywhere. I mean, it is a platform on purpose, and whether you're talking about loyalty systems or chain of custody, there are a lot of things that could be helped in the U.S. economy, of course, with our technology and with cryptocurrency, blockchain in general. So let's see here. Next question, Milos158. If the U.S. regulatory issues don't adjust for this new technology of blockchain and cryptocurrency? Is there a plan B to focus on the countries that do want to support innovation? Of course, there are always, there's always a plan B and plan C and D, and lots of contingencies to get out the door what we need to get out the door. We're already looking at productizing some things and spinning them off, and some of them might be in the US, some of them might not. It kind of depends on what the projects are. We have at least a couple of partnerships going that are really tight partnerships in Europe, and we're looking at some things in Asia too that you might be talking about. And we're basically just trying to leverage the relationships we have out there, no matter where they are, to support adoption and to push the innovation. So it's a good thing. Next question, AxioNest I69. Can you give us some opium regarding Dragon Scale? And I don't know if you mean hopium, but we're working on a partnership right now we hope comes through that would deliver that before the end of the year. And it'll be probably a small competition to start, a small tournament. But we're waiting, and you know, there's a lot to go through in the business side to get an agreement that everybody's happy with. So we're on our way, and there is a chance if we don't get that we will put something in place that would be purely a bootstrap model where we would through the foundation put out there the ability, the Dragons, for some of these projects to at least pay for their operational stack, to pay for the nodes and the transactions so they can build things. So, but it'd be more of a bootstrap focus. So we'll see how that goes. There are a couple of other, I could go quite a while on this. There are a couple of other angles we're looking at for selection, and how we could put Dragon Scale in place sooner. Like say with the strategic bounties as an example, that people could help us decide which ones are more important. So we've talked about that. I don't know how, you know, how immensely valuable it would be, but it would be interesting. It'd be really neat because we already have almost everything in place, all the components, the Kipu couponing system, the time devotion system, and the submission, and it's all on blockchain. So when you submit a project, the whole thing will be on blockchain for provable provenance. So the team's done really well with that, getting that stuff together, because those were very abstract concepts and tools, and they built them. It's really cool. Next, AxioNest I69. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Are the team still active? Is the team still active in Singapore? So far, how's it going? They're not any longer active in Singapore. We do have Jeffrey Netherlands is going on a trade mission. There's a Dutch trade mission to Singapore in November. That's really exciting. A lot of really good contacts and presentations in that, and some really good sponsorship from the Dutch government. So really cool stuff. And yeah, our office in Singapore, we shut down because of some of the things that happened. So we're totally open. We still have at least one entity that is in Singapore right now. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, next, Drgonjohn. I would like to know, how is Dragon's integration status, or DRGN's integration status in PayCent? Is there progress in this regard? I've been lightly following, because I was in a channel where their devs were talking with us, and we were basically just trying to relay the technical info they needed to do their integration. And if I understand everything correctly, I think they're all ready to go. You might be best to go to the unofficial group that is it's M4's community Dragon group. It's a really good group. They They get rid of trolls really fast. It's a pretty relaxing place to go. And you can ask him. He probably knows a lot more in depth if they have a date or anything else. But as I've seen it, it looks like everything's in order and on the right track. So hopefully it's in place soon. Let's see here. Next is colortones 777. Joe, can you expand on some of your future personal goals with Dragonchain? Okay, so personally, I came at this whole project from the point of view of an architect that loves crypto and with all the libertarian pieces and everything else that comes with from Bitcoin, especially in the early days of Bitcoin, where everything felt like an open source project that happened to have some really unique value that no one knew if it would really take off, but it was very obviously amazing technology. And so I've achieved most of those goals for having built out what we need. I mean, there's always stuff missing, right? And I think most of what I want to see happen right now has to do with the application layer. That is just building all of the crazy things that are possible now. It's almost like we had to build out the platform in order to build these things that are actually more exciting. The platform is amazing, and if you're in crypto or if you have dealt with other crypto platforms, you should come and look at it and do a deep dive, because it's really hard. It's really hard to communicate at a really high level what's possible to everybody, because we're trying to talk to business people, crypto people, software developers, and pretty much anyone. And we sometimes have to abridge the info, and a lot of times we have to re-educate, because 3/4 of the people coming in to Dragonchain think that blockchain is just this one thing. They basically think it's a currency and everything else is a scam, and that none of the things that were promised in 2016, 2017 are possible. And that's all false, but press is generally lazy. There's too much for them to cover, and most people in the space are not. I guess they don't come from it from the same angle. Come at it from the same angle that we did. So a lot of what I'm wanting to focus on now is building apps, and we're putting together different groups to experiment to find an efficient way to do that. That was a long answer, unintentional. Hodds 86. What do you see happening for Dragonchain in 2020? Most entirely, we're going to be focusing on adoption, capabilities, and communications. That is, reaching out to devs, reaching out, of course, to businesses, doing more and more enterprise sales. When I say reaching out to devs, though, it's really important, because we're not focused on blockchain developers. I mean, yes, blockchain developers should look at this, but frankly, it's quite a leap from where they're at. We're wanting to focus on the 99.99% of the other developers in the world that focus on building business software or consumer, basically building real software, and not the very small select few who have already built decentralized compute stuff in Solidity on Ethereum and things like that. So I do see a lot of focus on that, trying to get traditional devs in that can then see how they can build what they're already building, but apply scarcity and apply loyalty or proof to what they, what fits in their business. Next, Milos158. how is it looking for implementation of blockchain in Disneyland and resorts? Is there going to be an increased use case, such as magic bands in the near future? We have no idea. I mean, I have NDA that I can't talk about anything other than what we released through W3C. I don't know what they used anymore. I have no way to know, so sorry, can't answer much better than that. Next is Hodds 86. How big do you think Dragonchain will be outside of the USA? That's all a matter of adoption and use and community. I mean, we have people all over the world. I think per capita, I think we're actually probably have more people in the Netherlands than anywhere. I think that's right. But we have people everywhere. So it's hard for me to say, I guess. I know that we already have some things going where people will be using Dragonchain quite a bit outside the US, so it's good. All right, this next one's hard from JegsDRGN. A genie grants you 3 wishes you can use to better the blockchain and cryptocurrency space. How do you use them? So I'd ask for regulatory certainty. I would ask for things to be clearer. That is, if there is to be regulation, how should it be clear? Or alternatively, Genie probably breaks the rules here, to have no regulatory certainty, but instead to have education. It's like I would rather have education and a blockchain-based rule set where if you come and you can understand these contracts and you can take part, you can participate in a way that you weren't able to in the traditional system with, in Silicon Valley, with nothing but the big VCs and the big banks taking part, and lots of millionaires and billionaires. It would be a beautiful thing, because then you wouldn't be able to be cheated, and or everything would be visible. You would be taking a risk, but by nature of you being able to participate, there's a risk you intended to take. I'm a libertarian, so that's the first. The next would be to get rid of all the FUD, all of the crypto Twitter style BS. I mean, the humor is great, but the attacks between projects, and especially between the maximalists and all of the tokens, it's just kind of it's detrimental across the board. It doesn't do Bitcoin any better to try to destroy the smaller projects, and it doesn't do the smaller projects any better to try to destroy Bitcoin or Ethereum for that matter. And anybody who's doing things on based on fundamentals should at least be respected. There are a lot of really bad actors out there, but in all truth, there are probably fewer than in the traditional banking and startup world. In all truth, I mean, you look at Theranos, you look at just a few years before that, it had billion-dollar projects in the traditional world. So anyway, the last is focus on fundamentals and utility, and understanding that not everything is a coin, and not everything is a financial instrument, and that this is software. And if you step back and think these very same people who are saying, oh no, they're all financial and they're all securities and they're all this and that, what would they have said during the internet? What would they have said about it? All these sites are going to steal your money. It's ridiculous. So it's a bad place to be, and it'd be nice if that was gone. Next is RayPhil333. How do you see the future Dragonchain, and where do you see the Dragon being used? Future Dragonchain, I see, especially with the platform in its state now, it's extremely solid, and now it's all about people knowing, getting exposure, so people know that it's there, and getting the capabilities out in front of people, because the more they understand that this isn't just a way to raise funds, it isn't just a way to compete with currencies in nation states, that it does go way beyond that. I mean, even Satoshi, proposed other uses with Namecoin as an example. So people need to get past where we are right now, and it's very frustrating as a technologist that on Twitter everything is about just currency and just price action, and it's just annoying, and it's so bizarre that it's still going on. How do I see Dragon being used? In our ecosystem to reward verification, to provide scarcity, as it is now. So, okay, let's see here. Next, colortones, 777. Can you expand, Joe, on what really excites you about Dragonchain? What really excites me about Dragonchain is the technology and the community. That the technology across the board, and I could talk for hours on this, and you would win, but I don't have the time, nor does the Cyril and Zara. So one way or another, the technology across, from beginning to end, everything is very, very unique, very scalable, and radically flexible. So basically for the goals of delivering a platform that any business could use and can start off in a very simple way, that they don't have to know everything about blockchain, they don't have to know everything about cryptocurrency. It could be an identity application, it could be a loyalty. It could just be something where they need something ledgered so they can prove to the regulators or auditors, or if the regulators in their industry, that they are following the rules. Right? Imagine if we had rules in our industry that we could just prove we followed. We don't. Some industries, they have rules, so that's amazing. And then the other is the community. The community's stuck with us through thick and thin, and it's been really amazing, and that's what excites me. Also, colortones, 777. What is it that drives you to keep going and creating with Dragonchain? The same above, the community, the technology, the team. The team's amazing, right? The team's been delivering nonstop for 2 years now, and frankly, to look at where we are now compared to then, it just blows the mind. So it's really nice. King George Dragon. Joe, can you explain in detail the process for running an L4 node, how verification will work, and if I could possibly be a good candidate to work through the process and be a first? So let's see here. We have, there is already a line, but we have to have some level of identity. And I've told a couple of other people that we're waiting, and I'm kind of trying to be patient because there are a lot of high priorities, especially with the dev team right now. We need to get the level 4 to actually expose the name of the node, so that we have a method for identity on the outside. That is, when you look at, as an example, an eternal report, that you would be able to see which entity or person owns the node that verified that did the notary function level 4. So we're waiting on that, and I've not been pushing it hard yet because there's too much to do, but that's in process, and we basically need the equivalent of a KYC. We need, and it's not a pure KYC, but it is basically, we need to know your identity, and we have to have proof of your identity, and we've done that with a few people already, and they're waiting, so apologies to them. Okay, better dead than red, 99. What do I have to do to get an Apollo JoJo coffee mug? That is one of the best logos, right? That's an amazing one. And I can ask the team, is it still available right now? You can still order it on Teespring. So you can order it directly. And you probably could look at the JoJo and link over, or is it? Well,
Teespring, just search and you'll find it.
You search on Teespring. We also, I should add to this, we had a bunch of merch prizes, and we're waiting. We had a hiccup in the merch program. basically related to Teespring shutting off all of our black shirts for some weird reason. Somebody reported that they owned the copyright to our stuff. Very strange. So imagine who that could be, I wonder. And that one way or another, we're working on different merch channels now. So we have things coming. I've been told it's a couple of weeks because they have, I used to run a print shop, so I know you have to do all the prep, you have to do all of the setup, everything else. So there's a lot going into it, but once we have it rolling, we'll get more shirts and stuff out sooner. So, all right, Milos158. To what capacity is Dragonchain involved with the upcoming movie about Nolan Bushnell Atari? I understand that you and the team are consulting, but how much exposure will it give to the masses? Are there any on-screen interviews with you or the team, such as a Q&A? We're definitely involved with Coin as advisors and with the Atari movie, and they're going to be tokenizing it for the purposes of spreading it like as if it were an indie film. So pretty cool stuff. We're going to be doing the same stuff with the Dragonchain docu-series, which we need to put together a thing to name that, by the way. Community will name that. But so we're involved. I talked to JD quite a lot, and I've made him, or I've asked him, and he's promised me that I can be an extra. So that's as far as I can go, right? Who knows if that'll happen, but it'd be cool. I have to grow my hair out and stuff. Milos158, is there any dialogue with Starbucks regarding a back-end transaction using Dragonchain? We've spoken to them quite a bit about a lot of things. There's definitely some possibility there always, but you never know. It's a big company, so everything takes forever. Milos158, is a Maria Smith still involved with Dragonchain? Not right now. We're still friends. Maybe sometime she might come back as an advisor, but she is not right now. Milos158, what do you think the next big breakthrough is for Dragonchain and crypto? For Dragonchain itself, I think it's basically more and more demonstrations of utility and the strategic things that we've outlined with strategic bounties. Some groups are working on some aspects of some of those things on their own. Apart from that, so there are a lot of really neat utility breakthroughs coming. Some of it might be scaling. That's hard to say. Let's see here. What is the status on the Fellowship of the Dragon? And sorry, that was asked by Discovici. And Hodl Dragon answers, hi, maybe Joe will answer this question, but I'd like to reply too. This is the right answer. The fellowship is open to everyone, but new fellows have to receive an invite from existing fellows before they can join. More information at dragonchain.com/blog/fellowship. That's 4 slashes. Sorry, spells that wrong. What do you think will be the best use for Dragonchain, say, 10 years from now? Who knows? I would say easy way to provide scarcity, easy way to roll into tokenization, easy way to leverage public blockchains or any high-powered networks integrations. recuerm, which companies do you consider to be DC main competitors, and what sets DC apart from them? On the blockchain side, you could say Link, you could say Cosmos, you could say, I'm trying to think, there are a lot, WAN maybe. And I'm not experts in any of those, but I'm fans of at least those three and others. What sets us apart from them in the crypto world is flexibility, scalability, enterprise readiness. That's what we're all about. Some of them I consider to be, very, very smart people that put together a network for a very particular purpose, but it's not always directed at business. Most of them are directed at interop in the blockchain space, whereas we had some of, if not the earliest, interop in blockchain. We had it plugged into hybrid. We came out of an enterprise. It was specifically built for business reasons, and that's a big part of it. Now, if you go outside of crypto for our competitors, any platform could be. I mean, you could consider AWS a competitor. You could consider the other clouds a competitor. And the reason I say that is because we now deploy Docker inside of Kubernetes, so you can run on-prem, you can run in any of the major cloud networks, and we can. How do I say? We could be perceived to compete with them because you could deploy things to Dragonchain instead of straight to AWS, if that would make sense, and it very often would. So anyway, okay. From AxioNesty69, I know you kind of don't deal with exchange. What will happen if KuCoin/Bittrex, who represent 70% of trading volume, delist Dragonchain? I don't know. I think it would be picked up by somebody, and if I don't want to talk too much about it out there, but it's a market. So whatever happens, happens. It would probably, in all truth, this goes back to the regulatory questions again. If there was some clarity, it would probably help, because as it is right now, I wouldn't want to run an exchange. That's just too much scary stuff. So I can only imagine. Let's see here. This is a good question. AxioNesty69, when can we expect the release of the paid version of Eternal? We're putting a big focus on it, so I'd say ASAP. Should be before the end of the year, hopefully sooner than that. And the key cool thing will be the features that are there and the price tiers, and along with probably later, we'll probably roll out with a simple set of features, and then we'll keep adding features with new tiers that are more advanced for identity and things like that, with Dragon Factor being rolled in. AxioNesty69, which other project in the cryptosphere do you find interesting and valuable? Almost all of them. I mean, really, because in my opinion, you need variety. You don't just want one platform project. You don't just want one decentralized storage project. You want competition, because they'll build it differently, and some things will not be built well, or there will be mistakes that are found, and that's part of our value, that we can interchain with all of those. So I would list Bitcoin, of course, Ethereum, of course. I would even list Bitcoin Cash. I wouldn't list BSV because of obvious community. But Link, Storage, Golem I like. And I wrote as a joke here, Tron, because that's probably the one I don't value. I have no idea what it's for, and all the pre-announcements and stuff. And maybe if it was an announcement coin, if there was some utility in it for the marketing itself, that'd be respectable. But anyway, whatever. Ploesen, what is your unique sale point versus other top smart blockchains with much more budget and money and way more developers? I don't know that a lot of them have way more developers. A lot of them have a lot more money, and a lot of them burn through a lot more money a lot more quickly than we do. And a lot of them have actually already run out of money. So our unique sale points would be flexibility, fundamentals, operational capabilities. We have over 8,000, I think it is. Full metrics will be out live at some point soon, but over 8,000 actual operational interchains with 4 different public blockchains. And again, we are going to expand that, but it has not been the highest priority, because there are other valuable things that we need to build. So those are the things, and yeah, I wish we had more money, but you know, you guys can help us build things, and then we'll all have more money. Gioherazo, what was the original goal of the leadership at Disney with Dragonchain, and why did they decide to release it on its own, independent of Disney? I'll answer that part first. Original goal was very experimental. It was to build out a hybrid blockchain that could protect business data, that could actually be used by multiple different business units for different use cases throughout the entire enterprise. That was the original goal. And also, you know, adoption internally, and my goal with it was to throw it up against the rocks, to get as many projects to play with it and to work with us to understand the capabilities as possible, so that we could find out which parts of the architecture didn't work. Why did they decide to release it on its own, independent of Disney? That's been pretty well delved into a lot, but it's basically that it's pure open source ethos. It's the whole point of getting the technology out there so that the industry, the community, the world at large can be better off, that it should then therefore benefit Disney in multiple ways, both from the what do I want to say, the fact that they're a good actor, but also that the technology will get contributed to and be more advanced in the future with more eyeballs and more hands working on it. Are there any goals to work with Disney in the future or any other Fortune 500? Of course. Hodds, 86. People often misunderstand cryptocurrency and, quote, paint them with a broad brush. How would you best describe Dragonchain's use case in its simplest form? It is a software license. As boring as that might be, it's a software license that is independently ownable, that you don't have to rely on a third party to hold it. You can hold it yourself, and it can do microtransactions, and it's a programmable software license. You can do many things with it, and the primary being use of platform services, but there are a lot of things coming that that it's used for. I mean, time I could take quite a while to describe time as well. And if you think about it, the way that dragons and time interact, it is a really interesting use case for loyalty and for filtering of access. So let's see here. Axionesty69 again. Any update about the interchain with Hyperledger? We don't have anything official. I actually have something on my list. I need to talk to a couple of devs about it. I haven't done that recently. It is in place. It is workable. It is not at all productized. We know we can do it. We've built out, and we've actually productized the private Ethereum interchain, which is very, very similar in the model. But Hyperledger is a lot more, if you know anything about software projects, to me it feels a lot more like Hadoop than a smaller project where there are all these different pieces, so there are a lot of different things we could do. So we have one customer that has some interest there, and so far they've not really pushed us on the Hyperledger side. So that's where that is. All right, next question is from Satoshi X1111. His only comment on Reddit, so a brand new account, just to make this beautiful comment. He's trolling us about the price, and we can't affect the price of our token in an open market, particularly in a huge bear market when all of these factors are at play in a brand new industry. So apologies. I hope the best for you. I hope that you do well. That's all I'll say. Drgnjohn, it's a delicate question, and maybe I don't get an answer. Has Dragonchain service has been offered to Disney. When I was there, yeah. I mean, now since then, I mean, we've spoken to various people, but that's about as far as I can go. Baby Whale 69. I have a question regarding your interchain patent. If a crypto project wants to use interoperability, do they have to pay you something to do it, or can they use your patent freely? They obviously can't use our patent freely. Right now, to use the patent, you would get an account and you would basically pay for a node and start using it. We probably will have something that is a more clearly defined way to license the patent and or to integrate it across different platforms. The second part of that question, even though he wasn't supposed to ask two questions, is interchain IO legal or related to your patent? They're not, I'm not sure who it is. I think it might be Cosmos. I'm not sure. Yeah, they've helped to interop on Tendermint or Cosmos. So, Noble project, I have no idea. We will obviously look at what fits, what violates the patent, what makes sense for a business. But main point is we've been operational for a long time. And if you come to us and want an interchain tomorrow with pick your flavor, let's say you want to interchain with Tron. We could do that. We could do it ASAP. We could do it immediately. The model is a beautiful model. It's a very, very simple model. And it's very advanced. So we're hoping to open it up. And we have a couple of things in process where we're hoping that some of the other projects will host the nodes to make everything simpler. The next thing, let's see here, Drgnjohn. Is there a future project to use Dragonchain as a form of payment? Not that I'm aware of. We've generally stayed away from direct payments uses. Anybody can do whatever they want with it, with the Dragon. There are some cases where people are actually talking about integrating Dragon into their own systems rather than creating their own token. It's interesting and sometimes makes a lot of sense. Other times, I'm not as aware of why they want to do it. But really cool stuff. Last question. Feedthemcake. Joe, in no less than 1,000 words, why should I invest and support Dragonchain? The proper answer from Pakapama was LOL. So, and I think they're going to announce the winner. If any of the trolls won with a long answer, we'll make sure we edit it shorter, right? And that's probably everything then. So thanks for tuning in for episode 10. Next week, episode 11 should be good. We'll try to pre-announce some stuff. I'm not sure what's on it yet.